I've got a quick story that I'm going to read out in detail. I'm going to put a content warning before you all because it's actually pretty fucked up. But I was talking very recently over the past couple of weeks. I think since August 29th, around there has been 8 killings of Indigenous people in Canada by the police. And there's not nearly enough noise being made about it on mainstream news channels. I've posted about it on social media. If you post about it on the Nazi app, X, you'll get a lot of people replying with, well, what were they doing? They were all violent criminals. They deserve to be taken down, shit like that. We have now a full story. This is one of the stories, one of the people who has been killed, and it's horrifying beyond belief, but I think it's important to share it, so I am going to read it, but again, content warning for the details. The Police Oversight Agency in Alberta has released disturbing information about the fatal police arrest of Jonathan Lee Wells last week in Calgary. The Alberta Serious Incidents Response Team said Wells, 42, died on September 17th after city police said they were called to remove a man from the Carriage House Hotel Conference Center around 1 a.m. They said a lone officer located a man in the lobby acting erratically and attempted to de-escalate the situation. The interaction between the male and the officer was captured on body-worn camera, they said on the news release on Wednesday. The male is standing with his hands in full view and does not possess any weapons. Keep this in mind. The officer orders the male to leave the lobby by issuing commands, such as out and walk out. The male continues to stand on location in the lobby and act in a confused fashion, such as attempting to pick up items off the floor that were not existent. After 30 seconds, the release says the officer pointed his conducted energy weapon, aka the taser, at the male and ordered him to leave the lobby. The male raises his hands and confirms he'll leave and asks the officers not to shoot him. That was his last words, by the way. Oh, sorry, no. It's I don't want to die. That was his last words. The male then begins to leave the lobby with the officer still pointing the weapon at him. The male is walking slowly towards the main door with his hands raised while saying to the officer, I don't want to die. The lone officer tells the male to stop talking and continues to point the weapon at him. That's when 2 more officers arrive on the scene, the release says, and Wells stops walking. The first officer holsters the taser and attempts to grab Wells, the release adds. At no point during the interaction had the male been identified, nor was he ever told he was being detained or under arrest. The male physically resists being grabbed and then is tackled by the second officer, who punches him in the head while both are on the ground. During this time, both officers 1 and 3 deploy their tasers on him. For the next 3.5 minutes or so, the 3 officers and Wells were involved in a physical altercation with various uses of force resorted to by the officers. Once the male is detained on the floor, handcuffs and leg restraints are applied. More officers arrive, the release notes, and Wells is observed bleeding from the mouth and vomiting. A spit mask is then applied to the male while he's lying face down on the floor, the release says. Emergency responders arrive and inject him with a sedative, the release says, and about 7 minutes after that, he's handcuffed. This is administered to the male while he's lying face down. The male is then left face down in handcuffs, legs restrained, and spit mask for another 3 minutes until it is noted that he's unresponsive. The male then provided medical care, but was declared deceased at the scene. The male was then provided medical care at this point, and like up till this point, again, unarmed. Not identified, told that he's under arrest, or told that he's being detained, which, yes, police officers in Canada have to do. You can ask a police officer, excuse me, officer, am I under arrest? If not, I'd like to go about my day. That's entitled to you under the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. They don't have the right to unlawful seizures and searches of yourself or your body. They can say, they could have said that to the individual, that you are now being detained for X reason, or you're going to be arrested for X reason, or anything to that effect. But again, unarmed men, hands in the air, trying to walk away. Other cop shows up. They pull their tasers out. One of the cops tries to grab him in the back, and then a physical altercation occurs. He gets beaten the fuck up. He's bleeding. He's vomiting. He's then put with a face mask, face down, sedated, and then, yeah, dies, most likely, covered in a pool of his own vomit and blood. They take over the investigations when members of the public are injured or killed by the police. The agency won't be releasing any further information, it added. Wells was a competitive steer wrestler and president of the Blood Tribe Agricultural Society, part of the Blackfoot Nation, approximately 200 kilometers south of Calgary. His obituary uses the traditional name, Sapta, and describes him as a dedicated cowboy who won the Indian National Final Rodeo Steer Wrestling Tour in 2012. Wells is the 8th First Nations person killed while interacting with the RCMP and municipal peace officers since August 29th. The deaths have upset and angered Indigenous leaders and politicians who have called for more accountability from police. They sparked an emergency debate in Parliament last week, led by the NDP. And obviously, thank you to the NDP and the people who are trying to put this forward. Leah Gazan right now, she's awesome. She's an Indigenous politician, NDP, who's been not only bringing and talking a lot about this in a public forum, she also the other day brought forward a UBI bill and got shut down by the Conservatives and Liberals. But Canada, I don't know if you know this, yesterday you could have had UBI. You know the whole Andrew Yang thing? You just get like $1,000, $2,000 money in the old bank account every month. You could have had that yesterday, but it got shut down. Not a lot of other people were talking about it, unfortunately. But she also has just put forward another bill to be able to try and prevent the spread of residential school denialism, which is also a really big problem, you know, between like Lawrence Southern, Rebel News, what's the Great North is the other one that pushes all that kind of stuff. And then just one other little quick piece of local news. I do want to keep talking about the bugs because they're making headlines and it's kind of silly, but
BC Conservative leader John Rustad for comments he made suggesting children could be expected to eat bugs. Rustad made that claim and others last year in Victoria, where he was a keynote speaker at a conference aligned with the Freedom Convoy. He then mentioned an Ontario company that uses crickets to make pet food. The factory has been at the center of conspiracy theories.
This plant produces 40,000 tons of bug protein for human and animal consumption. 40,000 tons of bug. We should not be expecting our kids to eat bugs.
You know, in my experience, the challenge with children up to a certain age is preventing them from eating bugs. But I mean, here's something that John Rustad and I can agree on. So let's put a hand across the aisle about not forcing children to eat bugs. I do understand why he has to clarify his position on issues like this, given the remarkably weird stuff he's been saying.
Now, you'd think this would all be disqualifying, you know, this comparing inclusivity programs for LGBTQ plus students to the residential school program, trying to shut down our commitment to UNDRIP, so, you know, removing any kind of land title or Indigenous rights, consistently attacking Indigenous people. Like, the list goes on and on. Oh, climate change denial. Fucking, oh, this guy loves his climate change denial. Went on Jordan Peterson's podcast to talk about climate change denial. So all that stuff, the guy would pretty much be just seen as kind of some really far-right weirdo. But he's doing great. There's a recent poll that came out that actually showed him on top, surging ahead of the BC NDP. So you can laugh at a lot of this stuff, I guess, from your own political bubbles and corners, but you shouldn't be ignoring the fact that a very large section of people who seem to be wanting to commit to vote are also getting progressively brain poisoned through internet conspiracies and believing it, and then liking when they see their internet conspiracies reflected by politicians who also believe the same internet conspiracies. It's completely debunkable. There is no federally mandated program to feed children bugs, to start changing food sources and protein sources from steak or fish or chicken exclusively to bugs. None of that is true. This is a far-right conspiracy that has been pushed in a lot of different corners of the internet for a while now, and it usually has a lot to do with the idea of right-wingers thinking that they're going to take away your cows because cow farts, your burgers, climate change, and you know what they're going to do? They're going to replace them with what's something gross but still has protein that we could really make people be like, ew, oh yeah, insects, that's right. You've all seen that new Blade Runner film. Yeah, that really creepy guy, Jared Leto, you know, the one who's actually way more horrifying in real life than he is in films. There's no character that he plays that's anywhere, I think, near as horrifying as he is in real life. But either way, that Jared Leto was kind of feeding the entire planet with worms and stuff like that. Well, that's what they want to do to you. These companies, the giant company in Ontario producing all these bugs and stuff, and it's like that's a dog food company that, yes, supplements their dog food protein with insects. That is a thing that is happening. There's also a lot of insects in a lot of different foods that we already eat for a variety of reasons. I've pointed out before, for dye, for example, red dye is prominently done through the use of, you know, blending up insects and putting it into our food. But, you know, again, stuff that I would think would be pretty disqualifying seems to be resonating with a lot of people who may be spending a lot of time on Facebook, I would assume. Seeing million memes being, you know, eating bugs. I haven't checked out the boomer memes on this shit, but it's kind of scary.
CTV News reached out to Rustad and his team for clarification, but did not receive a response.
Yeah, they're just not going to respond to the whole bugs thing. Oh, by the way, one last funny thing about John Rustad, you know, the weird-ass Mr. Burns. He yesterday made a post where he used the term Big Daddy Government. And I was like, Big Daddy? He's like, oh, yeah, nothing like Big Daddy Government deciding when you can buy a home or something like that. I was like, Big Daddy Government? God damn. Why you got to make this little thing sound like a gay porn? Ooh, yes. Come on, Big Daddy Government. Supplement me.
Hey, if you'd like to unlock secret bonus episodes as well as uncensored content, go to patreon.com/The Serfs. This show is produced by Anna Loves Riley, Arian McCarthy, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Hagbard Celine, Jimmy Sombrero, Multimondi, Omni, Political Puppy, Preston Kroll, Quiet 185, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Cernicus, Stellar Gwyn, Sebastian Demel, Travis McClinton, Trincell, Words Greenwood, with additional support coming from all of these amazing human beings right here.